MSNBC host Chris Matthews went on a little bit of a fearful rant over Bernie Sanders' rise in the polls. Take a look.
I'm not happy. I'm not happy with his field. I think they got to find a candidate for president that can beat Trump.
And you don't think anybody in this field
I'm
can
looking.
beat Trump?
I'm still looking.
Still looking.
What's the problem?
Obvious problems. They're all problems. Bernie Sanders is not going to be president of the United States. Okay? I went back to the 72 race. I was a young volunteer for the DNC. I was working for a senator from Utah at the time. I've got to tell you, it feels a lot like it. Now, analytically, I think a couple things have happened. One is Warren was riding high. I thought she was going to sweep through everything. I should first too easily and just keep going. She was the one candidate I thought could do that. What happened? She got a lot of scrutiny. Does this stuff add up? The Medicare for all, the free college, all that stuff got killed. And guess who's going to get it now? Bernie's going to get it now. Bernie's going to ride high, and he's finally going to get scrutiny about his whole life, his ideology, his whole life, who did he root for all his life. Who is this guy ideologically? It's not just the nice, good stuff like health care. Why does he say the stuff he does about Maduro and people like that? Why does he say Denmark one week and then somebody else? I mean, people got to figure out who the guy is. Yeah. I think I know, because I've dealt with these guys most of my adult life. They're usually the guys at the card tables at an anti-war rally. There'll be there some old guy with some old literature from this socialist party to that, trying to sell it, trying to latch on to the anti-war movement. There's always guys like that. And they're usually, you know, as Howard Fine once said, non-negotiable demands, you know, yelling up at the administration building during the anti-war movement. I know them, but I think the country's going to get to know them. I think we got a problem. We'll see. But, you know, nobody's going to say it tonight. They're all going to be cheering. Good old Bernie. You know, I think he's going to win big tonight, real big.
Throughout that whole thing, it almost seemed like Chris Matthews was on the verge of tears. Like, literally having a breakdown as we speak. Oh, I know the guy. But do you know the guy? Yeah, everybody who supports him knows who Bernie Sanders is, because he's literally been the same person for the last 40 years. He's very consistent. In fact, that's why people like Bernie Sanders. But so, look, Chris Matthews, he's having a bit of a sad, right? And it just makes me think, oh, are you okay, Chris? Are you going to be all right? I mean, you sound like you're really, really upset that your boy, Joe Biden, might get trounced in Iowa. But look, he's getting upset that Bernie Sanders has a shot at winning the nomination. I mean, do you know how you win the Democratic nomination, by the way? You get it by people voting for you in primaries and caucuses. So that means, by extension, he's mad at the people who like Bernie Sanders' message, and goes on, of course, to do a comparison between Bernie Sanders and George McGovern, essentially blaming the voters, saying, "Oh my God, George McGovern, I thought there's so much energy. He blew out a great guy, the other guy that was running against McGovern. Oh my God," and we ended up losing. This isn't 1982, right? This isn't the 1990s. Which, by the way, this is where Chris Matthews lives. He still thinks, oh no, Tip O'Neill was able to work with Ronald Reagan. Yeah. And so we got Tip O'Neill, and then he's working with the Republicans, and well, that's how it's supposed to work. And is still red baiting. Look, by the way, back then, red baiting did still work on a lot of voters, right? And they're still doing that today, by the way. And they think, oh my God, they're going to call Bernie Sanders a socialist, and that's going to make him win. That doesn't have the same connotation or the same effect now today that it used to. In fact, in 2020, nearly half of all millennials are distrustful of capitalism and have an interest in socialism. Young people, look, we grew up under the Great Recession and the failures of our inherently capitalist system, right? That is way out of balance in favor of the capital owners versus the working class. Bernie Sanders, he's the candidate of the working class. And so we have the internet. We can see the effect of these disastrous policies, right? And we can also see all the other countries that did universal healthcare very successfully. They have single-payer healthcare systems. They have college tuition, right? That's what the Denmark That's what he's talking about when he points at Denmark, right? Oh, looks like they can actually do these policies without going bankrupt. Which, by the way, the United States actually can't go bankrupt. But look, not only that, but he makes a comparison of Sanders is one of those guys. He's handing out pamphlets, socialist pamphlets, at an anti-war. Can you believe that? Somebody being anti-war? Ooh, we hate that. Yeah, you and the establishment hate that. But the majority of the country is war weary. We're tired of going to war in the Middle East over oil. And not only that, but you have a majority of Americans, it's a small majority, even after all the attacks against single-payer Medicare for all, that still favor government-run health insurance, that still favor taxing the rich. In fact, that's an incredibly popular position to have. And taking on climate change using a Green New Deal. This is something that Republicans are saying, oh, they're going to kill your cows, and they're gonna kill your airplanes. No, nobody believes that except for right-wing Trump supporters and people that are supposedly supposed to be liberals, supposed to care about climate change, are saying too bold, can't have it. We literally have 10 years left to do something about climate change. Let's go. But no, can't do the Green New Deal, which is ambitious and totally doable with current scientific methods. No, we have to ease and have a transition, which means we're still going to do fracking. We're still going to do oil and gas. And so, sorry, nothing we can do about it. We have to transition because anything else is impossible. It's pie in the sky. Right. Look, I'm sure, of course, his Chris Matthews outdated allegory fits perfectly into the situation. No, things change, right? The country is open to a real progressive populist. And let's not forget, in the last election, all these MSNBC people like Chris Matthews were saying that Donald Trump was never going to become president. That Hillary Clinton was going to win. She's going to win in a landslide. They literally laughed at the idea that Donald Trump could become president. They were all incredibly wrong. And they also saw the most well-known politician, Hillary Clinton, been working in politics for a very, very long time, very influential, very high profile, facing a serious challenge from a no-named self-described socialist from Vermont who got nearly half of all delegates. And yet, since then, by the way, since Bernie Sanders lost, he has been building on his campaign, building out a movement, right? A very successful movement from what I've been seeing. The most fundraising, the most small donors. They've been getting at his message. They've been changing the conversation. And this is all while Chris Matthews and the others at MSNBC decided to ignore him. And they were ignoring him a lot, other than, of course, segments like these.
No, but you get the wrong candidate, you might lose the whole thing. What about Bernie Sanders? Do you think he's a danger as a president, as a candidate?
Bernie Sanders does have a sort of physicality, when he talks, that is a shaking your finger at Hillary Clinton, shaking your finger, shovey, weirdy, his physicality.
How much of danger is that Bernie Sanders, who's now leading in the polls?
First of all, I think Bernie's lying.
For me, as again, I'm not the political analyst here, but just as a woman, probably considered a somewhat moderate Democrat, Bernie Sanders makes my skin crawl.
Suppose you're lying on a road hurt. Which of the candidates would stop their car and get out and help you? I think Biden wins that one pretty easily. I think Elizabeth maybe. I don't think Bernie wins it.
And I can't even identify for you what exactly it is, but I see him as sort of a not pro-woman candidate.
We see him, he slouches forward anyway, Joy, but here he turtles. If you look at his eye level where he normally answers questions, when he makes the denial, his whole shoulders come up like a little kid getting caught. His eye level is below his shoulders. This is trying to hide in plain sight.
How big a danger would he be to the country or to the party, the Democrats?
That's just a few shows from MSNBC. They've been doing this for the last couple of years, attacking Bernie Sanders. Look, they either attacked him or they ignored him and propped up Biden, which, by the way, Biden has received over $153,000 during his entire career from 1989 to 2020 from executives at Comcast. Comcast owns MSNBC. Isn't there a coincidence? They push Biden. They give him most of the airtime, which is positive. They go after Bernie Sanders, who has the least airtime and the majority of it negative. That can't be a coincidence because it's not. Follow the money. Now, a couple of tweets here before we go from progressives. We'll start with Sam Finkelstein, right? He says, the Bernie surge has Chris Matthews on the verge of tears. It's okay, Chris. Rob Rousseau also said, moronic cable TV millionaires like Chris Matthews truly believe nothing good could ever happen in America because of an election that happened 50 goddamn years ago. Cry more, Chris. We love to see it. The outline Shuja Hader says had a different take. They said, Chris Matthews says Bernie is like an old guy distributing socialist literature at an anti-war rally, as though that's a bad thing. Because it's really not. Sports writer Lauren Walker also said this. Old people at protests from Code Pink, Vets for Peace, etc. are some of the most authentic people you will ever talk to. And then adds, Chris Matthews thinks they're kooks because they spend time giving a crap about our foreign policy instead of going to brunch because he's a pig. I'm going to leave it there because you know what? You love to see it. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.